Hi, I'm Jack Canfield, and welcome back to another segment of Talking About Success. My next guest, Jenny Hrbacek, is a registered nurse and the author of Cancer Free, Are You Sure? The go-to guide for advanced cancer testing, and she's the moderator of Cancer Free University, an online resource providing hope and real options for those dealing with cancer. She's an expert on tests that find cancer years before standard tests such as a mammogram or a PSA count. So welcome. And why did you get interested in cancer testing? This is kind of, I mean, you know a lot about it, and you're a nurse, and now you're like the world's expert, it seems.
I know, and you know what? It became personal. Cancer is affecting our moms, our dads, our sisters, our brothers, our friends, and I never thought it would affect me because I went to the doctor every year, and I had a physical and everything was good. And then from one year to the next, I got this news that I had cancer. And to be honest, I felt perfectly fine until they gave me that diagnosis. All of a sudden I thought, well, maybe I don't feel so good, but I actually didn't know that I had any problem. Even at that point, when I got the diagnosis, my lab work was absolutely perfect. You know, your CBC and all those things there was my blood sugar, my blood pressure, everything was fine. But then I asked the doctor, I said, how can I have cancer? I was just shocked because, I mean, I exercised, I did jazzercise, I was very active, I had 3 kids. And then I said, well, if I have cancer, how long have I had this? Because I was in shock. And I don't think a lot of people ask that question. And when I asked, how long have I had it? I thought they were going to say just a few months because, I just had my checkup. And they said, no, you've had this for 7 to 10 years. And that brought me pause.
That would bring me pause.
Yes, because I thought, wait a minute, we are supposed to be one of the best healthcare, best countries in the world. We're actually only rated, 37th in the healthcare system? We're not even in the top 10. But I think that we all think that we are. But if you really pull up the statistics, we're not in the top 10. We're not in the top 20 or even the top 30 as the rankings go for healthcare systems around the world. And I just thought, something does not sound right. Why, we can... right now we're on camera. We can send videos. You could do a video and send it to me across the phone, but we can't find cancer until I've had it for 7 to 10 years. That was my moment of pause.
Can we really detect cancer? I mean, you talk 7 to 10 years, and usually when we find out about it, we've got bumps or we've got big spots on a mammogram or whatever.
Right.
Is it possible to really detect these before they become lumps and bumps?
You know what? It is, but it's not the standard of care. And that is the big dilemma, is that people think by going to the doctor and getting their checkup that they don't have cancer. We always check people for heart disease and diabetes, but we don't check them for cancer. So I just went on a journey and I thought there's got to be a way where someone could have detected this sooner, because they were trying to give me, well, they did. I had 6 surgeries, I had chemotherapy, and I opted out of the radiation, but I could have had it had I showed up for the appointment. But because we can find it, and people need to know that, but our medical model responds to a problem. And until you get that lump or bump, you get those symptoms, you get fatigue, you go to your doctor with a problem, and by that time when you get those symptoms, it is many, many years in almost all cases, with cancer, unless you get some sort of really aggressive brain tumor that comes on quickly. But most cancers simmer and grow and grow and grow over a multitude of years. And we can find it. And that's in my book. That's how I tell you how to find it and what tests to ask your doctor for.
So you've discovered a lot of, I leafed through your book earlier, and you've got a lot of tests.
Right.
And you obviously believe in them. And I think I was reading some of there, it was like 99% accurate.
Yes.
No false positives,
Right.
no false negatives.
Right.
So you're a big believer in that these things work.
I am, and actually, because the tumors produce things in our blood, and I'll give you a few examples. For one antibody that's produced in the blood is called the ENOX2 protein, and that is produced only on the surface of cancer cells. And if you do a blood test, a simple blood test out of your arm, you can have a tumor in your liver, your colon, or your prostate, blood test out of the arm. They find the ENOX2 protein. They can actually then take that ENOX2 protein and tell you based on some measurements on that, it's actually the molecular weight and the isoelectric point, they can tell you the site of origin, 26 different sites of origin, the main types of cancer. They can tell you have super early prostate cancer or lung cancer. You can run down to the big hospital and get a scan and they won't find it. Because you know how the PET scan works is they give you the radioactive glucose and it has to absorb enough sugar to light up on the scan. We're talking super early detection when you don't even qualify for those treatments. Another thing they're doing is with the blood test, they can do circulating tumor cells. And the public has not quite figured out that we're now able to take a blood test, and there are multiple companies doing this. A blood test sample out of your arm, even when you have a tumor somewhere else in your body, you don't have a blood-borne cancer, you have a solid tumor, and they can detect circulating tumor cells and circulating tumor stem cells, which are the dangerous ones in your blood. And people say, well, how can that be? I just want to get my tumor taken out and I want to go on about my life. Well, that doesn't happen because just removing the tumor doesn't get rid of those circulating tumor cells. And those cells get in the blood because if you think about this, if you have a tumor in your body, does it really make sense that it's completely separate from you, that it doesn't have any nourishment getting into that tumor to feed it? I mean, it has to have blood flow going into it and blood flow going out of it. And studies have shown that a tumor as small as 2 millimeters has already created that little network of blood vessels. And as the blood goes in, these cells can get swept away into the bloodstream. We can now detect, there's Biocept, there's Foundation Medicine, there's Research Genetic Cancer Center. There's a lot of labs that are now taking a blood test and telling you about your cancer cells without sticking a needle into that tumor. It's actually what I call a liquid biopsy because they're doing it with blood.
Wow.
And it's possible. So why would you want to let someone stick a needle into your tumor when they can just check your blood and not disturb it? There's so much amazing information and new developments for people.
That's really neat. Now, you've created something called Cancer Free University.
Yes.
What's that?
That is an online, on-demand resource. And what I did was, I've learned so much, and people are always calling me. They want consults with me to talk to them about testing, and I'll refer them out to clinics where they can get some integrative care. And I decided that I didn't want to be that expert. I know the information, but I wanted to let it come from the scientists, from the physicians that are using the different therapies, from the experts. So I actually bring in the experts, and we talk about over 60 right now, and it's growing every month. I'll be adding to it. We talk about all the different testing. Like if you wanted to find out if you had cancer and you wanted to look at one of the tests in my book, you could pull up that interview with that lab where I ask them, how much does it cost? How long does it take? What's it going to tell me? What's the accuracy? I ask all these questions right from the expert.
That's great.
And then I do all the integrative therapies, because you don't have to get full dose chemo anymore. You can actually go to a clinic where they inject chemo right into the tumor. Or you can do low dose chemotherapy, or you can do intravenous vitamin C. And I bring all those experts to the interview, to the table, and you get to hear directly from them instead of flying all around the country trying to get second opinions and having fear, because fear comes over people with cancer. And I just want to provide them information so they can make informed decisions and feel good about what they're doing and come out of this situation healthier than they were when they started.
Now, you also talk about alternatives to chemotherapy, to surgery, to radiation. What are some of those options?
Well, chemotherapy is very toxic. And if you find cancer the way I'm proposing that we do, you won't even qualify for chemotherapy.
Because it's early detection.
Because we're finding it so early where you can do herbal therapies, detox, maybe a little bit of intravenous vitamin C, and you can then retest and see if it's gone or whatever protein you're monitoring is gone. But if you do need chemotherapy, I would tell everyone, do not get standard of care. Because let's say, for instance, someone has prostate cancer. The doctor says, oh, I'm going to give you chemotherapy. And the doctor will have a list of approved drugs for chemotherapy for the prostate. But what if there's a drug for lung cancer that is 35% more effective than the prostate drug list that they're going to give you? So you want to make sure you get the right type of chemotherapy, and then you can do low dose targeted chemotherapy, which is where they use the sugar and they get your insulin really low, and cancer cells metabolize sugar, for their fuel. And so they get your blood sugar really low. Those cancer cells get really hungry and they start vibrating and they're starving for that sugar. And then when they give you that little bit of chemotherapy, they give it with a little bit of glucose and it just rides the chemo right into that cell. Or intravenous vitamin C. Linus Pauling, the work that's been done has shown that intravenous vitamin C can absolutely take care of circulating tumor cells and tumors. And I'm proof of it because my circulating tumor cell count after I did chemotherapy and was declared no evidence of disease, I had it checked, it was 14.2. That is a lot of cancer circulating in my blood. And, Jack, I had gone to a breast cancer support group and all the women there were introducing themselves. It was the first meeting and as we went around the group, I thought, oh my goodness, half of these women, actually it was more than half. I'm being conservative when I say half, had a recurrence where the cancer had come back. And I just thought, man, do I have a target on my back or what? They're telling me I'm cancer-free. They told these ladies they're cancer-free. They have no hair. They've got wigs. They've got really bad scarves on. This looks terrible. Get me out of here. So that's when I started doing all this work. And I actually did about 6 months of intravenous vitamin C, and I got my count down from 14.2 to 2.9 when the doctors wanted to put me back on chemotherapy. And I thought, you know what? Why would I go back to a therapy that failed me? It didn't work. In fact, it stimulated the stem cells. So, now I monitor it, I watch it, I eat good, I exercise, I take all kind of herbs. And I don't believe cancer has to be a death sentence. It's just that we see so many people die and suffer because they find it so late. And I think if we could switch it around, find it early, take care of it when it's something that's as small as a little dot on your on a piece of, if you took a pen and put a little dot on a piece of paper, we have the tools to find it that early. It's just you have to ask your doctor for it and you have to know what to ask for.
Excellent. Well, we call this show Talking About Success. And if you're in a cancer ward, you're not focusing on your success.
Right.
You don't have the ability. And I've seen whole families just become so focused on keeping someone alive or dealing with it. It's so critical. And the more health we have, the more dynamic energy we have, the more ability we have to be successful.
Right.
So I'm bringing to you people out there these areas that are so important. We can avoid the bumps and lumps in the road of life, as well as having them in our body. I know you're thinking about putting a new cover on this book, but I'm going to hold this up anyway. Just want you to know there is a resource for you that you can find out very early if you have cancer. And if you do, you can solve it without some of the things we're so afraid of, like radiation and chemo and all of that. So Cancer Free, Are You Sure? This is an important book. So how do people find out about you? The book, I assume, is on Amazon.com.
It is.
Places like that.
It is.
But if they want to hire you as a consultant, can they do that as well?
Yeah, they can email me.
You've got your Cancer Free University?
Through my website, and then I have cancerfreeuniversity.com, which I think is even better than talking to me because
you've been talking to all the experts and you've got these videos there.
Yes, and it's audio. And actually at the end of each interview, I have 4 multiple choice questions so people can see if they got the gist of what's going on.
Oh, very cool.
And it could take someone a month to go through it all, but people are Googling all the time for answers for cancer because they're searching for hope and inspiration and they just want to have that fear dispelled and they want to know that they're doing the right thing.
Very good.
And nobody wants chemotherapy. It's just
I don't want anyone to wake up and go, God, my life sucks. I don't have chemotherapy.
Right. Let's shift the paradigm because I want to say that waiting for the lumps and bumps is doing nothing to win the war on cancer. We have to flip the paradigm. We need to deal with it super early before we even have a lump or bump.
So one more time, share the website with everybody.
Okay, cancerfreeareyousure.com and cancerfreeuniversity.com.
All right, very good. Well, you've heard it right here. So if you or someone you love you're concerned about, make sure you do this. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this message.